All right. Welcome in, folks. Let me hit this button here so I can get our Facebook friends up in here. Oh, okay. There we go. Hit go live. And boom. All right. Welcome in, guys. It is Tuesday evening. It is January 14th, and it is hotter than heck where I am. Gosh darn, I'll never complain about the weather again. Carl, how you doing? It's time for building the Broncos.
I'm good. I just spent the last 2 days at camp outside.
Okay.
And it was 106 our first day of camp.
Oh, my
So
God.
yeah, it's I got myself a nice little tan going on. Really starting to look like I'm my summer guy again.
Yeah.
Other than I got the farmer's tan going, but no, it's good to be in an air conditioned office again and getting to hang out with all of you fine folk.
Yeah, I said it on the show this morning, but I was fortunate enough to go with one of my best buddies here. We drove about another hour from the Quad Cities where I'm at now and do some fishing. And there's nothing more or making me more disgruntled than being hot and then having hot air blow on you like a hot fart or something. It's the worst. But had some good time fishing. My thumb is a little bit raw from all the fish lips, so it was good fishing there. But good time. Happy to be here. Unfortunately, back for a funeral tomorrow and then a wedding on Saturday. But getting through it and building the Broncos. Obviously, welcome in, guys. Every Tuesday night we're gonna have building the Broncos with Carl and I. We've been going strong on Tuesday nights since. Honestly, probably since these live streams started, but we've been going at these Broncos podcasts since what would it be? March 2017 probably would be about then.
It was definitely before the 2017 draft. I don't know how much before. I think it was February or March, somewhere in there. But yeah, I remember we weren't doing the live shows back then, and
No.
I remember sitting in a coffee shop because I'd write out the script for each show, and then you do all the editing. That's kind of how we went back and forth. And I remember sitting in coffee shops writing out all these notes, and people are like, "Man, he's writing a book or something over there." No, writing notes about a game.
Yeah, no, it's I will say that the live streams are a little less work because it's more organic. You have to do more like actual prep script wise. But welcome in, obviously, building the Broncos, and you guys can follow Carl and I on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH, and let's say hello to some people in the chat. Some building the Broncos friends of the show, Dylan Von Arks, of course, saying "Sup Broncos Country." Make sure you guys hit the like button on the way in and subscribe if you haven't already. That goes for our Facebook folks and our YouTube folks if you haven't done so yet. Thank you for the ones that just came in as soon as I said that. Corey Johnson coming in with the corn and the horse. I'm going to think this is Iowa and Broncos here, and also bread. Maybe it's because how white I am, too. You're getting the tan over there. We haven't had sun in the Pacific Northwest yet. So here we are. And Dale saying, evening. I don't remember. Is Nick going to be here tonight? I am here tonight, and I will be off tomorrow because tomorrow is the funeral, and I'm going to be I guess I'm just going to be muscle for a lot of that. Nick is going to be in charge of picking things up and putting them down and moving them from place to place. So be a little bit of fun and a great time for one of the hottest heat waves we've had here in the Midwest for a bit, but is what it is. And also Chad Jensen coming in here. I recognize that face. Say BTB, our MHH pod OGs. Yeah, we do go way back. Chad found me on Facebook saying, "Hey, do you write for anybody?" I'm like, "No. Would you like to?" Yeah. Would you want to get, some, whatever for it? I'm like, hell yeah. So then found Carl too. And the rest, I guess, is kind of history. So thank you so much, Chad. Hope you're doing well down there in Utah. Let's say hello to some other people in here as well. We got Jeff Noyes in the house saying hello, Nick and Carl and Dylan and everyone in Broncos country. Absolutely. Mike S is in the house saying, "What's up, Broncos country?" Good to see you, Mike S. Diamond Rattler's in the house too saying, "Boom, let's ride." Awesome to see you. And of course, we got couple of other folks in here coming in. That pharmacist saying, yo, Broncos country. Good to see you. Ernie Mays is in the house too. Hello, Nick and Carl. Go Broncos. Shade's in the house. Evening Broncos country. And Facebook user as well saying, "Hey guys, let's ride. Go Broncos." So let's get into it today. The first thing we wanted to talk about that caught me, I guess, or grabbed my attention the other day was Melvin Gordon back at mini camp now. Obviously missed the volunteer or the non-mandatory OTA segment of the offseason, which he tends to do. But he's back now for mini camp, so that's great. And he had been working with Russell Wilson, going through the playbook, meeting with him, et cetera, virtually. And I hope that the Nathaniel Hackett, with everything that he's brought here to this coaching staff, maybe the virtual stuff is a little bit easier, different methods to learn. So maybe it's not, that big of a deal. Hasn't been in the past. But Melvin Gordon coming out here with the press conference. I'm going to pull up the video clip here that Scott so graciously
I told George when I was at the table, I told him, I'm not gonna lay down. I'm not gonna lay down. I know with a lot of people outdoor. Is that my phone?
Oh, that's his phone.
Oh, okay.
It's a fine.
Okay. Nah, I'm not gonna lay down, man. I've always had that mindset that I got to go get it. That they bringing someone in here to take your job, and like I said, I know a lot of people are wanting me to take the back seat, and I get it. It's been like that for a while. It's been like that when I was with the Chargers. Everyone wanted Austin to start, and I just come out here and I do my thing. Thanks for the motivation, everybody. I appreciate y'all. The added extra motivation, I need it. I need it, and I'm gonna just go out here and do what's best for the squad, man. I put my best foot forward down every time I go out there, and then I see what happens. The goal is to make them want to play me. So I know we gonna do our thing. Me and Vontae gonna do it. I don't really know how, we're gonna do the reps or things like that. The goal right now is really to master the playbook and let things, play out. But I'm gonna definitely be ready to battle. That's what it is. That's gonna make us better. It did last year, and I'm gonna continue to do that. I don't care how old people think I'm getting. I feel good. I've been sharing the ball since I got in the league with running back. So this is nothing new. I've been battling for a while. I think Austin Eckler is a hell of a bat. And I had to battle with him and do the same thing. And it's just my luck, man. I just happen to be, paired up with some great backs. Fortunately and unfortunately, I would say.
Yeah, awesome. So there, Melvin Gordon, always really articulate. Always good to hear him talk. That's that Wisconsin education, I guess, coming through there. But your general thoughts on what Melvin Gordon had to say definitely was getting some people laughing there in the press conference. Also had me reaching for my phone because I thought my alarm was going off. So psych. But Melvin Gordon, any general thoughts off of that? And then we can kind of dig into this some.
Yeah, I think people read into this a little too much.
Yeah.
Of thinking that he's not a big fan of Javonte or something like that. No, it's just the guy has done well everywhere he's gone. And you don't do that unless you are a competitor. And so he wants to compete. He wants to still start. I know everybody wants Javonte to get as many carries as possible, and I do too. But Melvin Gordon is still a really good running back in the NFL. He almost rushed for 1,000 yards last year. And of the two running backs, he was the more consistent. I know he had the fumbles. We got to count those in there, of course, as part of the evaluation. But when we're talking about from a play in, play out, he was the guy that was finding the right holes, was living in the offense that he needed to be. Javonte was kind of up and down. He got better as the season went on, but he was kind of a hit and miss of it's either going to be a really big play or he's going to get stuffed at the line of scrimmage because he made the wrong decision. And so Javonte's got to get better in his vision side of things. Melvin Gordon's got to get better with the fumbles. But the two of them competing, that only helps the Broncos. When you've got a 1A, 1B running back situation, teams can't relax when that second running back comes in. They have to sit there and say, this is a starter quality guy that can do everything, that can be a true 3-down running back. And so, like I said, I love it. I love that he has that mentality coming into this of, I'm not coming back to the Broncos because nobody else is willing to pay me. No, I'm coming here because I really want to start. I know he said it in another part. He came back because he just doesn't want to start over again is part of it too. It's hard to keep moving every single year to a whole new team, a whole new city, all those kind of things. So, like I said, I love this mentality that he has. I think he's really good for the Broncos. What about you?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he can do this year. I was looking for a quote from Zach Hicks, who does work for the Colts on the Sports Illustrated side of things, and also Derek Klassen, who, if you remember, Carl, we had him on the podcast a few times covering quarterbacks when the Broncos were searching for a quarterback. But he had a quote. There's been some Melvin Gordon conversation and saying that 2021 might have been the most impressed. This is from Derek Klassen, QB Class on Twitter, saying 2021 might have been the most impressed he's ever been with Melvin Gordon. Super steady present in every phase of the game. Such a rock for that offense last season. And then Zach Hicks came in and said that Melvin Gordon was obviously and significantly the better of the two Broncos running backs last season from the film analysis that he did. So not my quotes, from other people who are well respected in this industry. But definitely, I'm really excited to have Melvin Gordon here. And the fact that he is coming in and trying to not lay down and die, essentially, for the carries and the role can only be a good thing for the Broncos. This is obviously can be respectful, but having these two running backs be competitive with each other and, trying to one up each other, anything you can do, I can do better, can be good. Obviously, there is a line where like they're doing something stupid or, instead of getting out of bounds, they're not protecting the ball as much or doing one too many moves. But I think overall, this can only be a good thing for the Broncos, especially with the fact that I think this offense is still going to be pretty heavily reliant on the run. Not maybe reliant is the wrong word, but they are going to use the run game a good bit still, even with Russell Wilson in-house.
Right. You're going to have teams that are going to dare the Broncos to run. They're going to say, we're not going to let Russell Wilson be the guy that beats us today. And when you can have that secondary option of how to go win a game with offense through running the football like crazy and making the team have to adjust and say, okay, never mind. We have to have 8 people in the box because they're just running it down like the Browns last year to the Broncos. They just pretty much ran it down the Broncos and said, we dare you to stop us because we don't think you can. Yeah. And it makes life so much easier. And then you can kind of get into the ebb and flow of, okay, here's how the defense is playing us today. It's a passing day. Okay, now they're trying to stop the pass. Now we can run the football. Like I said, it's complementary football, and it just makes the team that much more difficult to prepare for. And it's just one of those, you got to choose how you're going to be destroyed that day. That's a good thing to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for you fantasy people at home, this obviously taking into account Derek Klassen's opinion and Zach Hicks. If you are in fantasy drafts and you have Javonte Williams going, let's say, round 2 and Melvin Gordon going round 5, probably better to take the value on Melvin Gordon because obviously things can change here. Melvin Gordon's older. Javonte Williams is an ascending player, but might get better value for 2 running backs who are close. And I found the quote from Zach Hicks saying that Melvin Gordon was much better last season than Javonte Williams. And I know that Zach Hicks did some work for us over at Mile High Huddle as well. So maybe some of you guys are familiar with his work. Let's keep getting into it here. We got some more people coming in that we want to say hello to and have some points on Melvin Gordon and his comments here in this running back split, I guess we'll call it for now. I'm really excited to see what it looks like this year. Jeff Noyes saying Gordon doesn't fumble all that much, but when he does, it's critical times, which makes them stand out. I mean, yes, that's true. No doubt about that. But any kind of turnover for the most part in close games is going to feel critical. And because of how the Broncos played last season with good defense, I think overall good scheming and overall offensive structure that, and guys, let me know if Carl froze out here. I feel like let me know because Carl's face is frozen. It could be me that's out of here. But the way the Broncos played last year, they're going to have a lot of close games in general. That's just the design of the offense and defense together. So all the fumbles were magnified. Like he only put the ball in the turf one more time than Javonte Williams last year. He just had Melvin Gordon had the unfortunate luck of 3 of his fumbles going to the other team where Javonte Williams fumbles. I think both of them were picked up by the Broncos. And that's just, you'd expect that. It's kind of like flipping a coin every time. Every time it's back to 50-50 split. There's no gambler fallacy here. So next time you're 50-50 again. Yeah. And it's not 50-50 here. Phil coming in, helping us big time with the support on Tuesday nights on Building the Broncos. Phil McLaughlin, good to see you with the silent superstars over on Facebook. We appreciate you, Phil. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Hopefully it's not hotter than the depths of heck wherever you're at because, my God, I'm dying, Carl. It's hot here. Sitting here in air conditioning like, man, I'll never complain again.
Yeah, I still remember my first day in Seattle. Our neighbors came up to us and said, hey, would you guys like to come tanning with us? And I was like, this is weird. I've never had somebody ask that question before. And now I kind of see because of all the clouds, you don't get quite all the vitamins from the sun like you do at other places. And now being back here, I turn toasty brown every single year. So it's kind of nice to see. But I hope everybody's staying cool out there if you're in some of these hot places that are getting pretty toasty right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Phil. We also got Jay coming in saying the Broncos offense has been so lame in the past that one turnover is hard to come back from. With Russell Wilson, we should be able to overcome those turnovers. You'd hope so. Also, you'd hope that Carl made the point earlier, but we actually have data to show that last year the Broncos faced more heavy boxes or stacked boxes than any team in football. With Russell Wilson and the weapons and KJ Hamler returning, you would hope that the Broncos and probably a lot more probably not a lot more, but more 11 personnel usage than 12 and 21. You'd think that the Broncos boxes would be less stacked this season, giving those running backs room to roam. And that's the fact that Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon looked as good as they did last year, in spite of consistently having stacked boxes, just should make you really excited for them. I don't think we're talking enough about how excited we should be about these running backs in general, because what Russell Wilson does for the receivers, but he's going to do a lot for the running backs as well.
For sure. Like I said, that opening up of the boxes where you have one less guy to have to worry about on most plays, or even sometimes 2 guys. that he might not have to worry about coming down trying to stop the run game.
Yeah.
Just opens up those holes. And we've seen Javonte Williams, when he gets the open field, oh boy, that's where the money's at. And Melvin Gordon can do that too. I was reading about a play today there at minicamp where he went down the sideline. Huge gain. I think Albert Okwuegbunam was the guy actually blocking on the edge and helped spring him for the play. So that's really good to hear as well, that maybe he's developing as an all-around tight end. The Broncos need him to be able to hold that edge to really set up the entire run game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into a little bit more. But first, Miguel coming in saying, "Evening, gents." Good evening to you, Miguel. Hope you're doing well. Why is everyone wanting to act like McDaniels is a great coach when he blew up Denver, acting like Hackett has no resume? It's all the Patriots stuff. He's been working with Tom Brady forever. He's, 1 degree of separation from Bill Belichick, so he must be brilliant. And Josh McDaniels has been a good offensive coordinator to date. We've kind of seen it with, Bill Belichick's still one of the best coaches in the league, but when he hasn't had a Hall of Fame quarterback, he missed the playoffs. So we'll see how McDaniels does with Derek Carr and everything, and without the defensive backbone of Bill Belichick there. I think he's going to be fine. The biggest thing is his people skills, and we'll see if he learned anything from his time in Denver, where it sounded like he was, a little dictator of sorts.
Right. The players in Denver, they all talked about how McDaniels was one of the most prepared coaches they've ever been around. X's and O's, the guy is off the charts. Yeah. He's going to run circles around most coaches, even in the NFL, when it comes to that. But like you said, those people skills, the ability to actually connect to players, connect to other coaches. I remember when the Broncos started out there at 6-0, a lot of that was actually the defense was playing really well. They were keeping games really close, and the offense did a few things here and there, but nothing too crazy. And I remember he went to his defensive coordinator and said, "Hey, I don't like how you're calling games. I'm taking over." And telling him, "I'm going to dictate how you call your defense." He's like, "We're 6-0 and a top 10 defense. Really? You're going to tell me how to do my job?" And then, of course, that guy left that year, and McDaniels, then everything blew up. So that's going to be the big thing with the Raiders too. Can he do better in that area? Has he improved over these years? I don't know. I think he can get better. I don't think he can get to be one of the best in that area as a coach by any means, just because personality-wise, you are who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. People can grow. People can change. Bill Belichick was fired and sunk at the Browns and then went on an incredible run with the Patriots. So most great coaches in the NFL are on their second leg as a head coach. So we'll find out, but who knows? Phil McLaughlin coming back in saying, "Really cool here in Tucson. Only 104 right now." Well, that's right. I hope it's a dry 104. There's a big difference between, high humidity, 100 degrees, and low humidity, 100 degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we got Gary Leeds Palmer coming in here. Good to see you, Gary, saying, "Hey, Nick and Carl and Scott, good stuff. I favor having 2 good backs with the 17 games, and I like that Gordon keeps his foot on the gas, keeps the juices flowing." Yeah, like I said, that's the big thing. When you can have 1A, 1B coming into the game, and both of them are 3-down running backs. So you can't really sit there and say, "Oh my gosh, we know he's going to hand off on this because this guy can't catch or he can't block." Yeah. No, both of them can do all 3 areas of catching, blocking, running, whatever you need from them, they can do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going to be really fun to see those 2 guys. And Pro Football Focus, did you see where they had the Broncos running backs ranked amongst the league's leaders?
I did not. I saw one report where it was 15th and 20th or something like that.
Those are the individual rankings, but they did the positional groups for the whole teams. And they had the Broncos coming in at the running back position at 9 overall. So we can circle back to that. But first we got a big super chat coming in here that we want to get into from Spencer Haney saying, "Howdy from Wisconsin up there. I hope you didn't get hit with too badly with that weather front that went through here. I saw Wisconsin was just pure red on the radar yesterday. So hopefully doing okay there." He says, "Looking forward to watching good quarterback play from Russ this year because Nick and I won't get that watching Iowa and Wisconsin." Yeah. Yep. No comment. Set cry face. Yeah. All the way around. Go Broncos and on Wisconsin. I won't give you an on Wisconsin, although I do appreciate your guys' ability to send very disciplined, good defensive players to the league and good offensive linemen as well. So shout out to that. Wisconsin is pretty much everything I would like Iowa to become year to year. I don't expect Iowa to become Ohio State or Michigan level of recruits and brand, but if they can get up to Wisconsin's tier, that's who we're punching up to. Sorry sad Nebraska fans, not you guys. But thank you so much. I mean, $50 from Spencer. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have a little bit more fun with the offense this year in Denver than we will in Wisconsin and in Iowa.
It's nice hearing all the media people just talk about the rainbow throws by Russ and just connecting on those down the field to all these players. And I even heard he was throwing over the middle today in practice, hitting some guys on some quick slants. And so maybe he's evolving his game with this offense when they're trying to mix Hackett and Russ. I don't know. I'm excited to see what it's all going to be about. And, we're talking about a Wisconsin running back today and a Wisconsin quarterback as well, so that they're flowing through the Broncos right now. I'm sorry. Iowa has kind of been kicked to the curb. You got Jewel. Is that it from Iowa now?
On Michael Ojemudia.
Oh yeah. Ojemudia. Okay. So
and,
I guess
Sean Byer's still there at tight end.
Okay. All right. I guess we got a couple. Not going to get to the kick Iowa to the curb yet.
And, but I found the article here on Pro Football Focus. Ben Lindsay over at PFF had the Broncos running back tandem ranked at 9th overall in the entire league. And he says Melvin Gordon's return this offseason in free agency maintains one of the more evenly split 1-2 punches in the entire league at the running back position. Last season, there was a clamoring for more Javonte Williams snaps after Williams maintained his status as a tackle-breaking extraordinaire, ranking first in missed tackles per carry in 2021, just as he did in his final season in North Carolina. However, Gordon still profiles as a very efficient runner, entering his 8th season as he's earned PFF rushing grades of above 83 in each of his 2 seasons with the Broncos. So Melvin Gordon, steady Eddie, probably a little bit more trustworthy in the pass game right now as well. I'm totally fine just riding the hot hand with these two and letting it be pretty much essentially a 50-50 split again this year. I think people, when Melvin Gordon had that interview saying, fans were kind of, ridiculous to him a little bit, started to, I guess, cheer for Gordon a little bit. But now it feels like we're kind of regressing back to hating on Gordon and to prop up Javonte Williams. You don't have to do that. You can like both. You can cheer for both. It's not a zero-sum game for pulling for these guys. So really excited to see what Gordon can do this season. And like they said, number 9 overall for the rankings for running back backfield.
I think he's had one of the most unfair treatments of a player of his caliber coming to Denver, because when he first came, of course, Phillip Lindsay's here. Yeah. So everybody's loving the hometown kid. And then Lindsay leaves. And of course, then they draft Javonte, who comes in and has his highlight plays. And everybody's like, we need more Javonte. And so I feel like Gordon's just never been given quite the fair shot compared to the player that he is. And with the offense as down as it's been, he's still at least kept it at a halfway consistent level for the Broncos, moving the ball, picking up some first downs that they otherwise wouldn't. So yeah, I actually appreciate Gordon. I think he got overpaid a little bit because obviously running backs don't matter according to Nick.
No, there's some nuance to that.
There is. But I mean, he did get paid a lot to come to Denver. And I think that also kind of played into it of, you're making this much money, you better be a top 10 running back. And he's been kind of borderline right on that edge there for him.
Yeah, he'll be good this year. I'm excited to see, again, coming back to having some space to run. There's no better correlator for better yards per carry than defensive box numbers. So if you can use your personnel and the other team can respect your pass game and quarterback enough to have to play too high, to have to play dime defense, your running backs are going to be better and more efficient. And then if they're so good, the other teams then have to kind of pivot also. Also, there was an interesting interview a couple weeks ago between, one of the lead data scientists at PFF and Josh Heismeyer. He has Heisenberg as his profile picture. He's a big data analyst person out there in the football world, but they had a pretty interesting interview about how the play action game we're probably going to start seeing a dramatic change here in the next few seasons, because defenses are really starting to change how they're teaching their linebackers to attack that. No more biting, letting the run, make sure it's, instead of reading run to pass, it's pass to run. And we kind of seen that with Darius Leonard is one of those guys. And some of those Vic Fangio defenses have started to lean into that as well. So having running backs who can even further take advantage of the teams, maybe not triggering on that run action, would be great for the Broncos and getting a balanced offense. Derek Player coming in with an interesting question. I'm going to kick this one to you, Carl. How does this Broncos roster 2022 compare to the Super Bowl winning 2015 team?
I mean, this is tough because I don't want to talk too terribly about Peyton Manning, but he was a bottom 15 quarterback that year, at least on the field. Off the field, and his leadership and all that obviously played a big part in what that team could do. The 2015 team, they had the historic defense. This is not going to be a historic defense. They're going to be a good defense. Don't get me wrong. I think they can actually even be a top 5 defense if everybody stays healthy. And if Chubb plays more like what he did his rookie year, and maybe takes a little bit step up from that, then you can have, like I said, a top 5 defense. But they're not going to be historic. Offensively, they can be a top 10 unit. I'm not going to say that they're going to be the best unit this year just because new offense being installed. Outen talked about it today in his press conference of it takes months to get this offense down for players. He said, for us to be able to integrate everything that we want to do, of all the different formations that we can throw at teams, we need a lot of time to make this work. So it's not going to be there. It's not going to be perfect at the beginning of the season. Thankfully, the Broncos, it looks like they have an easier part of their schedule early on, so they can kind of work out some of the issues that they're going to have. But still, even in the NFL, that could cost you a game that maybe you shouldn't lose. So hopefully by November, Broncos are starting to click, get those things going for them. And so I feel like this could be a more balanced team overall, where you can win many different ways. Your defense could one day win it for you. The next day it could be the passing game. Next day it could be the running game. I'm not going to say special teams yet because we haven't really seen our returner yet of what he can bring to the table. But for the most part, like I said, this is more of a multiple team of how you can win. 2015 team, if the defense didn't play great, you're not winning that day.
Yeah, I agree with you. The biggest differences I would say are I like the personnel of the offense better on this team than the 2015 team. But you had in 2015 at cornerback, you had 2 top 10 cornerbacks that season, and Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. I would argue Bradley Roby was a top 15, top 20 cornerback that season as well. And you had not only incredibly better talent and depth as pass rushers, you had multiple game records, like proven game records and winners. Like Von Miller in that 2015 season was probably the best defensive player in football. It was either him or JJ Watt or Mack, but like legitimate game records, game winners, guys that, you don't even have to worry about scheme. That guy's going to get his and win a matchup. I really like Bradley Chubb. I'm excited about the profile of Randy Gregory. I think Draymond Jones is one of the more underrated interior defensive linemen in football, but we're not talking about those guys in the same tier as Myles Garrett, as TJ Watt, as Aaron Donald. And those guys are the straw that stirs the drink for elite defenses, in my opinion. I just don't think the Broncos not only don't have the quality depth that 2015 team had, and don't have the singular game by game, like we need to play, guy makes a play, level pass rusher, which completely changes things. And there's only a handful of those guys. And when you have one, it's special. It's one of the reasons why Carl and I said many times when the Broncos had Von Miller, Von's getting up there in age, the contract's changing. Appreciate him always here because he's elite right now. And we're watching special, and it's not going to always be here. Broncos aren't always going to have Von. They're always not going to have special rushing the passer. So that's probably the biggest difference. And that's not to take away from this unit's potential as well. You mentioned it. The 2015 defense is historic. It's to expect this defense to be historic without even seeing what they look like on the field with a new scheme is unrealistic and unfair to them as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think this team really can be more balanced, and I think they can do some damage. They could go win the Super Bowl. They get into the playoffs. There's no telling what they can do. I think the schedule sets up favorably for them compared to the rest of the division because they're getting the 4th place schedule. So they've got some easier games that they can maybe sneak a few more compared to another team. And I mean, we saw with the Bengals last year. The Bengals were not the best team in the AFC last year, but they got hot at the right time. They had turnovers at the right time, and their playmakers made plays. If the Broncos can have their playmakers go make plays at the right time, no telling what's going to happen. But we got Zebulon coming in. Thank you, Zebulon, saying Gordon can absolutely make some huge plays. He made plenty against the Broncos as a Charger. It's been obvious Denver has held him back, really. Yeah, I mean, when you don't have to worry about the quarterback, you pretty much, when you can dare the quarterback, please go beat me. We're going to stick everybody in the box, win over the top. And your quarterback can't do it, your run game's going to be handcuffed at that point. And so the running backs made as much as they could out of a really bad situation. And now they've got a really great situation. So it's going to be fun to see what they can do. When you've got that combination, it's amazing to watch. I mean, the Patriots have done it for years where they've had usually, a top 10 running game as well as Tom Brady. And they've worked really well together. That's how they won a lot of Super Bowls.
Yep. With the defense. as well.
Top 10 defense too.
Top
yes.
5, I would say even. The only time Peyton Manning had a top 16 defense with the Colts, I think he won a Super Bowl. So that's a little feather for Peyton's cap. But maybe it was top 10, but I think it was top 16. They didn't have many good defenses. Had good pass rushers, but need some coverage guys too. Dale Fleming saying Gordon is a solid, and productive back. Absolutely is, and the Broncos are going to need him this year. So hopefully he can play pretty well. We have Dave from Georgia coming in saying, evening Broncos country. Evening to you, Dave. Hope you're doing well. Always good to see Dave in here. I also saw that Benjamin Flores was in the house. What's up? My 2 favorite MHH fellas. Well, that's high company because there's some good people working in here. So we appreciate that, Benjamin. Hope you're doing well. And always good to see a friendly and familiar face in here. We also got Zach Powers coming in. Man, I wish I had a cool last name like Powers. Nick Kendell. Zach Powers. That sounds like a created player in like NCAA football or something. That'd be a 5-star recruit coming in. Actually, better baseball name. But Zach Powers saying Broncos run game is still going to be good this year. Every team in the division spent most of their offseason acquiring pieces to defend against the run. That's true. Kind of the Chiefs. Chiefs linebackers, I think, are really good and underrated. Nick Bolton had one of the better rookie seasons as a run defender that we've seen in a while. And the Chargers spent a lot of money to fix that run defense. Still don't respect anything of the Raiders front seven outside the edge rushers. They're really good, but they're the rest of the defense I don't really respect that much. Will be interesting to see how good they are. Carl, what is going to define the Broncos running game and running back success this season? Like, what is going to be the biggest catalyst for whether or not they're going to be great bordering on elite, or are they going to be closer to the middle of the pack? Is it just the running back's talent, or are there any other keys that you're looking for?
Well, I'm looking for the big moments of the third and short plays. Can they pick up those yards? The goal line situations, can they actually get that into the end zone? You know, that's been part of the problem in the last few years, again, is when you don't respect the pass game, those plays get stuffed at a pretty high rate. And so Javonte Williams as well. Again, he's got to work on his vision to be able to see those moments where the hole opens up and that 3rd and 1 can turn into a first down. You know, you don't have to turn into a 40-yard play. Just go get the 1 yard and make the drive continue. That's what I really want to see from this run game this year, is just being that really great complementary football to the pass game, pick up the tough yards, continue to make drives, continue on where you're getting an extra 2 or 3 drives per game, just because not really drives per game, but I mean, extra opportunities compared to years past.
It'll matter. And hopefully the running game will help the Broncos a lot on those 3rd and short opportunities, help maybe lead into some more explosive pass plays if teams are respecting it, but also in the red zone. Harder to, really rely on the home run defense or home run offense when you are getting closer and closer to the red zone and the defense is compressed. And the running game can really help, make some of those drives that end in 3 points rather into 7 points, which can win games. Chase Wallner coming in saying, do you guys think Melvin and Javonte will catch more passes this year? They caught a lot of passes last year, but Hackett will utilize them a lot based on history. I think if you look at the Packers' history and how they used the running backs last season, I think it was Aaron Jones. It was like the 2nd leading target getter for that Packers offense last season. And the other running back whose name is escaping me, the big guy from Boston College, weighs like 250. AJ Dillon was also heavily utilized in the pass game. So it's definitely possible. In Denver, the big difference is outside of Devontae Adams, that Packers passing options were not amazing. I mean, not to take away too much from Allen Lazard and Valdez Scantling and Equanimeous St. Brown, fine players. But most of the offense ran through Devontae Adams. This Broncos offense, they don't have a Devontae Adams caliber receiver on paper right now, I would say. But you have a bevy more options, much more number of high quality options. So maybe that means you're not going to see the running backs used as much in the pass game, but we don't know. I mean, Tim Patrick said it in an interview a couple weeks ago. This offense is going to be one we've never seen before. It's a mismatch of what Nathaniel Hackett wants to do and what Russell Wilson wants to do. What does that look like? Going to find out in due time. And luckily the Broncos have all 3 of their preseason games televised live. So we should know in good time.
Yeah. I will tell you, one of the things that got mentioned today by some of the media was Javonte was going out as an outside wide receiver. And they did that quite a bit. Even Melvin Gordon as well, both of them going out there. So you're going to see, I think, sometimes start in the backfield, motion them out, have them lined up against some cornerbacks, see if you can take advantage of some of those matchups and just see how teams are going to play you. But we got Phil coming back in again. Thank you so much, Phil, saying, I feel Boone is a solid 3rd, averaging over 5 yards a carry. What do you guys think of him Also, I am thinking a 65-35 split with our 2 starters. Well, I guess I'll start with Boone, and then you could maybe answer the second question there for us.
Okay.
I like Boone as the third running back. I do. I think he's a good special teams guy. When he's gotten some opportunities in the NFL with some carries, he has. He's done really well with the Vikings. He didn't really get much of an opportunity with the Broncos since both running backs stayed healthy last year. But I think the Broncos should bring in more competition for the running back position. I know another local kid was brought in this week, Borgie. Was brought in, and the coaches talked about him, said he did really well in his time with the team. I don't know if that means he'll stick with him or not, but for a third guy, yeah, Boone is a solid guy. What do you think about the split there?
I think the split's going to be closer to like 55-45, and it's going to be a lot of it, in my opinion, should be predicated on who's playing well and who's the healthiest. You have 2 good running backs. If one of them's at 80% and one of them's at 95%, use the healthier back. Some of it might also be you have a team that, their linebackers are good in space as far as coverage, but they can't tackle. Maybe you want to use Javonte Williams, or you have more plotters who are better in the box at tackling, but not as good in space. Get into that, that D gap against, outside zone spread, or maybe also using the pass game. Then you could use Melvin Gordon. So really just leaning in the hot hand. We'll see how it plays out. Boone, I have no issue keeping Boone. I know that Scott and I have talked a bit about Boone back and forth, saying that for a third running back, he's making too much money. That's true. You're also not paying very much for Gordon or Williams right now. So if you pay a little bit more for your third running back, I don't care that much. Biggest thing is he needs to be a plus player on special teams. He can't just be, a body in special teams. He needs to be a plus player. So that can make or break if he stays on the team or not, from my perspective this season.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's keep it going here. Talking a little bit. We had a question coming in here. First I want to say hello to Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good evening, Broncos country. Let's ride. Good to see you, Michael. Hopefully you're doing well. And I saw a question in here earlier. Oh, of course. $20 super, $19.99 to be exact, coming in from Naj, saying, hey brothers, what do you expect from the offensive line this year? Will Ntani Moody step up and do a starting role? How do you think the line stacking up against these formidable edge rushers? How will the line stack up against the formidable edge rushers in the division? So I'll kick it off here quickly. I think the offensive line is going to be okay. I do have growing concerns with the right tackle position because I did not know at the time until I guess more recently that Billy Turner was dealing with a injury that is still nagging him. And that puts up the antenna goes up when you hear something like that. It's like, oh, still having injuries and taking times off before you even had like contact. I know he's a vet. I know he knows what he's doing, and Hackett and everybody's comfortable with him, but that makes me concerned. Calvin Anderson has a chance at right tackle, but I think he's more of a natural left tackle. So that makes me a little bit concerned too. I do think that Brandon Shell is still out there. I think that Bobby Massey is still out there as well. So if you needed to bring in somebody because Billy Turner's, not progressing like you'd hoped, there are some options out there, not great options, but options, and probably better than, oh gosh, I should know his name, Braden, who's playing right tackle right now, who has only logged about a few snaps in his career on the offensive side of the ball. So a little bit concerned there about the right tackle. Well, what do you think there? Let's pick this one apart a bit, because I think we're talking about the running games. We love the running backs. I set you up earlier. What's going to be the biggest thing that determines how good they can be? It's going to be the offensive line.
Yeah. And Moody, I have heard he has actually looked really good so far. Now, given pads haven't gone on, so when you're talking about offensive line doing blocking, they're very limited on what they can do contact wise. I mean, the Bears just lost a practice because they had too much contact. So you got to be careful with some of that. But Moody, I mean, he's strong. Maybe if he's gotten his feet a little bit better, you can really see him step up in this system. I really did like him coming out of college. I was a huge fan of his. And, you get some of these big guys, Quinn Miners as well, get those 2 guys at the guard spot. I mean, really, I'd rather switch to a power system at that point. Just run straight forward with those guys plotting the way. But no, I hope Moody can stick around and do well at this team. And you're right. I mean, the nice thing is the Broncos have a lot of guys with a lot of different starting experience. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, we don't know who they're going to be, so they're not a good offensive line. No, it's just they've got so many different options and ways that they could go about this. They want to take their time before they really nail it down of who's going to be the starters. I think really right now, the only ones that you can pretty much be careful with or be good with that they're going to be starting Bowles. Quinn Miners is going to start somewhere. I think those are about the only two that you really know at this point. And Lloyd Cushenberry, I've heard he's looked pretty good as well. Mm-hmm. And that's good to hear. Third year, you're hoping that he's taking that next step, moving up the charts. He started out as the worst center in football his rookie year, moved up a few spots last year. Hopefully now he's more middle of the pack this season.
Yeah. We'll see. He sounds like he's been progressing. They've been talking about his intelligence a lot. Biggest question for me is going to be his mobility in the run game. You have to be able to peel off and reach the second level and hit a moving target, whether it be a linebacker or a safety, to really make this offense work. And I've been spoiled watching the Iowa Hawkeyes the last few years with Tyler Linderbaum and James Daniels before that to early draft picks at the center position in this outside zone scheme specifically. So I'll be with a careful eye on Lloyd Cushenberry this year to see how he plays. The other big one is his ability to handle big monster nose tackle types to anchor has been an issue with him so far, and that can be an issue with Russell Wilson, who then if you have a guy on top of you with his height can be a problem. But we'll see. Moody, I think Moody's just as likely to not make the team as he is. I know they're talking big about him, and that would be great. But his pass protection so far has been concerning. And I'm going to circle back to some information that you and I both heard following the conclusion of the draft, is that George Paton and the Broncos have arm length parameters, not only on the tackles for being long, but the interior offensive lineman as well. And I think the number was 34 inches. Moody had like 32-inch arm length then. That shows in his pass blocking reps. So obviously the coaching staff is going to advocate for players in the roster. It's a different process than bringing in guys in free agency or the draft versus evaluating your own roster and cutting it down. But still, those are things that's information we have. Maybe that'll be a tiebreaker for him. But overall, hopefully the offensive line can be pretty good this year. Right tackle does make me nervous. And you mentioned it, the edge rushers in this division, insane. Who do you think is going to have the best edge rushing duo in this division, Carl?
I'll give it to the Raiders.
Okay. Why?
I think Crosby is one of the more underrated edge players. I think he should be mentioned with the top 10 guys a lot more often. And bringing in Jones, I think Jones has still got a couple of good years left in him. I think he's been, again, one of those players that just every year has been one of the most consistent pass rushers in all of football. Love both those guys. It's tough. I do like what the Chargers have as well. Chiefs are not in that conversation for me for the top one. It's between the Chargers, Raiders for me. But like I said, I just feel Max Crosby, that guy destroys the Broncos every single year. It's hard to watch him.
Yeah. If you could take two pass rushers in the division right now, just for, make a team on Madden, the ultimate, the draft that you can have there, who would be the two in the AFC West?
I think it would be Max Crosby and why am I spacing on the Chargers?
Joey Bosa?
Yeah, Joey Bosa.
Okay.
I think those would be my two guys.
I had a trick. That's the trick answer for you on my end. I would be going with, I like Max Crosby a lot. I think he's a very good player, but I'd be going Joey Bosa and Chris Jones because I think it's having a inside-outside ability rushing the passer is more valuable than two edge rushers. I'd rather have a dominant interior and a dominant edge guy than two edges. You can do more, I think, but I don't think you can go wrong there with that. And unfortunately, it's going to be an issue for the Broncos this season as well. And yes, I'm seeing that I had a cat in my background. I think that was my sister's cat. My sister's in town getting married, and she brought her two cats with, and I searched the whole house for them beforehand, hoping they weren't in here, looking under the bed, and I guess one of them crawled in the bed or something. God, I don't know.
I just loved when the cat saw she was on camera, just froze. Like, they can't see me if I don't move.
Yeah, it's a very nice cat, but my understanding is not the brightest bulb in the box, but I'll have to tell my sister later that the cat came on. Chloe coming in saying the Chargers will have the best edges. Melvin will sneakily be a top 3 offensive player for us. He's a vet and he's going to be great. Okay, so Chargers top edges. I think the Chargers as well. I'll take them as well. We'll see, Carl. Maybe we'll put a bet on that. Still waiting for that monkey tail, speaking of bets. But Melvin sneakily being a top 3 offensive player for the Broncos this year. What do you think about this one?
Well, like I said, the vision side of things, when you're talking about the zone scheme, everybody talked about that with Terrell Davis when they had the outside zone. His vision is what made him the best running back in football back there in the mid-90s. And I know Barry Sanders was there as well, so I'm not trying to dog on Barry Sanders, but Terrell Davis was just something special in that zone blocking scheme. And I think Melvin Gordon can be the same thing, where he has that great vision. He's got patience to wait for when the hole opens up. And when it does, he explodes through it. And he's got enough explosion to turn it into a pretty big play. Yeah. And I think I don't think I would call him top 3 just because, I mean, I guess what are we talking? Offensive player. I mean, Russell Wilson's going to be top 3. I'm going to say Cortland Sutton as well. And I'm going to give it to Jerry Jeudy is my top 3. Just I've heard a lot of good things coming out now that Jerry Jeudy's finally back to practice, getting in the swing of things. I mean, Justin Simmons talked about today. He's never gone against a player of Jerry Jeudy's route running ability. He said that guy just gets open in a hurry. And I think he and Russ are going to have a pretty good connection. They're going to turn in some big plays. Cortland Sutton, with his ability to win over the top, he's going to fit perfect with Russell Wilson. So that would be my top 3. But if Melvin Gordon got in there as a top 3 guy, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, for me, the top 3 on the offense would obviously be Russell Wilson would be number 1. I don't know if we're not including Russell or not. After that would be Cortland Sutton, and then it would be Garrett Bowles. But definitely have a chance for either those running backs or either those wide receivers. I mean, Tim Patrick deserves a shout out. Yep. KJ Hamler is a dark horse as hell. Could be incredible for this offense this season. I cannot wait to see KJ Hamler. I think I'm not going to be the most exciting the Broncos this year is the Russell Wilson to KJ Hamler connection when that happens. That's what I'm the most excited for because it's going to be explosive, must-watch TV every time. It's going to be highlight playing every time. And Dale coming in saying, I absolutely with you on that, Jay. Maybe DJ Jones can be in a force in the inside pressures. What do you think about the DJ Jones coming in this year being a pressure player for the Broncos defense?
It's not his game. It's never really been his game in the NFL, and it's kind of hard to see at this point that he all of a sudden becomes that. He has some ability as a pass rusher. It's just he's more brought in. He's being paid the big money because of his ability to stop the run. You know, he's a top 5 interior defensive lineman at stopping the run. And the Broncos struggled at that last year, didn't have the interior guys to make that work. And it's why it's a nice complementary football with Draymond Jones in there as well, where he can get after the passer and DJ Jones can be more the run stuffer guy. And that's okay. You know, that's like I said, you need those kind of guys to make this defense work. If you're going to play a lot of dime formations, you need a DJ Jones on your team. So I'm still excited about him. And like I said, he still has some ability as a pass rusher. He's just not going to be a top 10 guy when it comes to the end of the season at that area.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one completely. I am really curious to see how DJ Jones looks this year on this front because while DJ Jones was a really good run defender, he was surrounded by some incredibly lengthy defensive linemen around him. Eric Armstead playing the edge. I mean, I don't know if there are any edge rushers the size of him in the NFL because he's essentially a defensive tackle out there playing that position. You also had Javon Kinlaw when he's not having bad interviews online, really upsetting ones, I guess, or kind of unhinged, I guess is the word I'll use. He's a really talented, lengthy edge run defender as well. So DJ Jones was afforded a little bit more space, I guess, or cleaner looks. And he might have to deal with more muck with shorter arms, smaller defensive linemen around him. So it will be interesting to see how all that looks. I think he's going to be a great player. It's just the length does pose some questions given how he was utilized and the type of players around him for the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yep. And we got some final comments coming in here before we start to wrap on up, talking about KJ Hamler here saying, EJ saying, I just pray little KJ can stay healthy and finish a full season without going on IR. KJ and Jeudy ended the season with 0 touchdowns. They need to bring it this year. Absolutely. And both those guys need to understand that this season is probably going to be one of the big ones for what their next contract looks like. If you are injured and miss time this season, going to be pretty damn hard for you to get a big contract after the 2023 season because you'd have multiple seasons there of lack of production and injuries. So if they're thinking about their wallets and their long-term financial abilities, need to start this season. This is going to be the building block to spring themselves forward to 2023 and hopefully a big payday on their end because we're pulling for them to get the big money.
Right. And Jerry Jeudy talked about that today. Somebody asked him about the 0 touchdowns last season. He acknowledged like he's thinking about it. And he's like, when I get that first touchdown, you will know I've gotten that first touchdown. So I think he's already even got his dance picked out of what he's going to do. And I expect him to be right back up there. Like I said, you get a quarterback that can lead him. Once he gets an open field, that guy is one of the more dangerous wide receivers in the NFL. We saw the few opportunities he got over these last couple of years. He can make something special happen. So just need to see what Russ can do with him. But we got Lawrence Rivera coming in saying, I think the only way Russ can play to his heights are by being dependent on his running backs and tight end. He's going to need to count on them to bring up defenses, or his long ball will always be contested. You're right. He's got to find the open guy. I think there are times with Seattle, he tried to force it way too much down the field at times. Once teams made those adjustments later in the season, he had some struggles. And so hopefully this meshing of the Hackett offense, where he can challenge maybe a little bit more of the middle of the field, take advantage of those running backs, find a big tight end like Albert Okwuegbunam, it just makes teams have to respect all the areas where he can throw the football. And Russ can throw it all over the field. It's just a matter of he has his preferences, and he's got to have to learn that sometimes he's got to go some other places just to keep a defense honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's been dependent on his running back so far in his career for the structure of his offense, and they've been balanced. We're going to see what that looks like. There was an interview with KJ Wright talking about the former linebacker of the Seattle Seahawks, KJ Wright, and the dynamics between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. And Pete was a little bit more of that old school, need to be balanced, need to wear down the opposing defense, where Russ is looking to expand his ability. I think one of the big reasons he wanted to go to New Orleans originally was to work with Sean Payton, who did a lot with a short quarterback and a high volume offense, or high volume passing offense. So we'll see what that looks like here in this offense. It's going to have a lot of weapons. I am curious about your comment and Lawrence's comment on the middle of the field with the tight ends, because you can have the quick pass game in the RPO offense without it needing to be middle of the field oriented. It can be speed outs or quick outs or stuff like that, right, where Judy can get open quickly outside from the slot to outside the hash marks, or, quick little slant or something to over the middle, but it doesn't have to be middle of the field predicated. I think the running game is going to be more about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're going to see him throw more over the middle of the field this year than he has in the past.
Yeah.
Just because Hackett, the system that he's coming from, that was an area that they loved. Yep. And yes, I know you had Aaron. Oh my gosh, I'm spacing on names today. Aaron Rodgers. Oh my gosh. It's been a long day. Like I said, I've been at camp, didn't get hardly any sleep with little kids wanting to stay up all night. But so I think he's still going to want some of that to be a part of this. And I think you got the receivers to do it too. Yeah. The tight end, even Dulcich, that's one of the places that he's got that quick open ability as well. And so taking advantage of all the different weapons that you have, I think you've got to utilize the middle of the field more.
Yeah, hopefully it's more efficient. Last year, Jerry Jeudy had some of the most least catchable targets in the NFL. And there's he had a terrible passer rating when thrown to him. I saw a lot of stats about that when we were discussing the Broncos receiving core being ranked 10th in the NFL from Pro Football Focus entering the season. And while the passer rating when throwing to Jeudy was bad, he had the lowest catchable target rate. So hopefully that'll improve this year. I do want to push back on one thing you said. You mentioned the Nathaniel Hackett offense and Aaron Rodgers utilizing the middle of the field. They really didn't that much last season based on the heat maps. I didn't go back and chart every single Aaron Rodgers pass. But I think I read that the offenses that utilized the middle of the field the least last season, the top three, were the Green Bay Packers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll see if that carries over, what it looks like. Obviously, the weapons change, schemes change, and the defenses the Broncos are going to be playing are going to be different too. We're going to see a lot more two high safeties, so maybe there's more room over the middle of the field. Right. So going to see how that plays out. But thank you so much, Lawrence. I wanted to give you a freebie there since you're always such a supporter for us. And we're going to get on out of here after this comment from David Bingman coming in saying, boy, you guys are on your game tonight. Thanks, David. We appreciate that. I don't know if that's a tongue-in-cheek because we missed Aaron Rodgers and I was stammering earlier. But no, David, we appreciate you. I just had to give Carl a little razz too. Been at camp and I got drive across the country brain still. Feeling a little bit better after driving 30 hours over 2 days, although seemed to be tragedies and weirdness following us as we drove across the country. First, we went through Coeur d'Alene, which I don't know if you saw what was going on there. It was a little bit chaos. Saw about 300 cop cars on I-90. And then saw all the flooding and whatnot as we were driving through Yellowstone with the Yellowstone River up pretty high. Yellowstone might be closed for the whole summer. Pretty crazy with the roads being washed out there. So who knows? Hopefully, knock on wood, no more bad things happen. They say bad happen in 3. Maybe it just being so hot. We can just call that be the third one because I'm dying.
There you go.
What's the rest of your night looking like, Carl? I feel like, man, normally I have a lot to do. I can go cook dinner, go walk the dog, et cetera, because I'm on that Pacific time. Now I'm in the Midwest. It's almost bedtime.
Well, I'm continuing my race. I got to get about 4 miles in tonight after this, going running. And thankfully it's finally cooling off. So I just got my new running shoes. I'm very excited and got to break those in with their first run. And I just crossed, I think it's about 80 miles in the last about month or so of running. So feeling pretty good about that and got to keep this going.
Man, well, I'll be ready for you to come beat my butt up a mountain at some point in the Pacific Northwest if you're ever out here. But we appreciate you guys. We're going to get on out of here. Make sure that you are following Carl on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at PTP Football Pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, go check out the team, our store for the team, Mile High Huddle team at huddleuppod.com. Check out the gear that I did not travel across country with my hats. They're a little bit too pristine for how sweaty and dirty and everything I was going to be doing out here outside. So I decided I didn't want to wear that pristine, white building the Broncos hat because it would have definitely gotten dirty and dog slobber on it, staying with too many dogs right now. But also make sure you're following us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And finally, as the ticker says underneath, make sure you subscribe, like, and share over on Facebook and YouTube. We appreciate the heck out of you guys. Carl, good luck with your run tonight. I'm glad it's cooling down for you. And we'll see you guys later. I'm not going to be on tomorrow, and I won't be here next Tuesday because I'll be making the final stretch of the drive back. So won't be here on Building the Broncos next week. But I will see you guys again Thursday morning. Carl will see you guys again next Tuesday. Until then, choose kindness, choose compassion. Oh, go ahead.
And tomorrow, because I'm subbing in for you.
Oh, you're subbing in tomorrow. So you guys will see Carl tomorrow. Even better. So great. Luke and Carl, that'll be a fun show. You guys have a great one. Carl, good luck with your run. Choose kindness and choose compassion. Go Broncos.